Something biblical is happening right now, and most people don't recognize it because they're watching events unfold, but they're not seeing the pattern. What we are witnessing is not new, it's not random, and it's not just political, it's spiritual. Because every time in Scripture when darkness was exposed publicly, it meant something was shifting beneath the surface. And if you understand the pattern, then you understand why this moment feels different. And here's what I need you to catch early. This is the part that most people miss. Exposure is rarely the end. It's usually the beginning. Darkness is being exposed right in front of us. Hidden things, power structures, secrets people whispered about for years, suddenly coming into the light. And yet, even when truth comes out, it feels like nothing changes. People react, conversations explode, and then everything keeps moving like nothing happened. So the question on many people are quietly asking, if darkness is being exposed, why isn't justice following? I'm not here to argue politics, and I'm not here to name names. I want to look at this biblically. Because when you compare what is happening today with what happened throughout history in Scripture, you begin to see the same spiritual progression. Fallen societies didn't collapse randomly. They followed patterns. Pride, people lifting themselves above God, making themselves the authority. Power, without accountability. Sexual corruption, hidden and protected. Abuse of the vulnerable and taking advantage of the innocent. Greed driving decisions, truth manipulated to maintain control. Pleasure elevated above righteousness, and moral boundaries slowly dissolving until people stop recognizing right from wrong. And once that pattern starts, history shows where it leads. Look at Babylon. Power concentrated at the top. Elites believing they were untouchable. Truth shaped by influence instead of righteousness. People living as if consequences would never come. And Babylon fell suddenly. Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. After misunderstood, not just one sin, but many. Pride, self-indulgence, neglect of the vulnerable, sexual corruption, abuse of those without power, and boundaries collapsing until sin felt normal. That's the turning point, not when sin exists, but when sin becomes normal. Look at cultures practicing child sacrifice. Innocence destroyed, children offered in exchange for power, protection, prosperity. People convincing themselves evil was sacred. And Scripture shows that when a society begins sacrificing innocence, something deeply spiritual is happening beneath the surface. And look at Rome during Jesus' time. Elite corruption, hidden scandals, power protecting power, public image hiding private sin, entertainment distracting people while moral decay spread underneath. And Jesus walked into that world and exposed hearts, what people had normalized. And suddenly you realize, we've seen this before. Pride without accountability, people lifting themselves above God, and sexual corruption protected by influence, abuse of the vulnerable, and power shielding wrongdoing. Truth manipulated until confusion replaces clarity, selfish ambition driving decisions. This isn't new. It's a repeating pattern. Maybe you felt this too, like something deeper is happening, but you couldn't quite put words to it. 1 John 5:19 says, "We know that we are from God, and the whole world lies under the power of the evil one." That means when a society moves away from God, it doesn't stand still. It drifts toward darkness. And Satan's strategy hasn't changed. Offer power without submission to God. Offer influence without accountability. Offer wealth in exchange for compromise. Offer pleasure without restraint. Encourage people to lift themselves above God. Convince them they are their own authority. He disguises darkness as freedom. He makes corruption feel normal. He shifts boundaries slowly until people stop recognizing danger. And Scripture warns that in the last days, deception increases. Truth becomes harder to recognize. People chase pleasure while losing discernment. Hidden things begin coming into the light. And maybe that's why this moment feels heavy. Because exposure is happening, but the final outcome hasn't happened yet. Throughout Scripture, exposure always came before change. Before the flood, corruption was visible. Before Sodom and Gomorrah fell, wickedness was exposed. Before Babylon collapsed, pride was revealed. Exposure, warning, then God moves. So maybe the real question isn't, why is darkness being dealt with? Maybe the real question is, are we recognizing the biblical pattern unfolding right now? God exposes darkness because He loves, because He warns, because He calls people back before judgment. Satan has strategies, but Jesus has the outcome. So if everything feels heavy right now, pause. This is not the time to run deeper into fear. This is the time to come home. Come home to truth. Come home to Jesus, because He doesn't just expose darkness, He ends it.